For more on this disturbing development in the country, let's bring in former chairman of the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, Sam Amadi, who joins us live via Zoom from Abuja. Mr. Amadi, as we speak, Nigeria is in total darkness. What's the implication of this, considering other matters such as the worsening insecurity, economic challenges, and other developments?
I think it's a very tragic development. The impacts right now, many of us are outside. There's no light, and in Abuja, there's massive fuel queue building up. So you have an economy, a country that's for more than 6-7 hours, you have a national collapse, artificially created, and then you don't have. It means that, for example, productivity is very low. People are not going to work. It also has impact for health in terms of vaccines, critical resources that need to be on temperature. But beyond that, it tells you that if you look at the statement by NUE, I just finished talking with Ajero a few minutes ago before I went to this call. And the reasons for this shutdown are not very weighty. I mean, the only time this can happen should be on a national emergency or unavoidable system collapse. That electricity workers will switch off the light nationally on the basis of very simple, resolvable issues. And from what Ajero told me a few minutes ago, they've had good meetings, and maybe they are on the way to resolution. So the question is, why do you have to plunge the nation in darkness? And secondly, why should the government, the management of TCN and the federal government, especially the Ministry of Power, allow this kind of irritation to develop to the point where workers have to switch off the grid? So I think on two ways it's wrong. It has very adverse economic consequences. It also shows the poor leadership in the sector. It shows that if workers can hold the nation to ransom and plunge us into darkness for hours, then it tells us how fragile the system is. So we're talking about financial fragility, we're talking about technical fragility. Now we are having human resource fragility, which means even if our systems are running very well, even if our machines are good and up to date, and even if the market is financially buoyant, it could have the nation plunge into darkness just because workers have resolvable, simple, and in fact, pedestrian grievances, issues around promotion.
If I may quickly come in here about these grievances, at the moment, the electricity workers are meeting with the Ministry of Labor and Employment. What do you expect from that meeting if you put into consideration meetings with other sectors in the past?
Well, I think they will resolve it quickly. First,
how
the
quickly?
Usual crisis in this sector is always like a flash in the pan. Any UEE would raise concerns, get to undertake strike, and in a few minutes or a few hours or a few days, in fact, less than a day or so, they will resolve it. Government will grudgingly concede only to renege much later. So I think by tomorrow, you will hear that there's a resolution and they'll bring back the grid. But the real issue here is this prickliness, why should the workers resort to a maximal action to protest some management problem that is not, it's not too big. It's not like something that, it's not like they have sacked all the staff. This is about issues around payments, issues around promotion of PMs to assistant general managers without promotion or without interview. These are issues that they could be speaking around, discussing, negotiating without taking this level of maximum action. So I think really that if it was under military rule, this could be considered sabotage. So my expectation that by tomorrow they will settle. They'll bring back the light. But the problem is, how do you compensate both private and public enterprises for this loss of time and
indeed,
loss
Mr.
of
Amadi,
power?
I was coming to that about the amount of money that Nigeria must have lost within this period. Already, entrepreneurs complain about the fact that electricity supply is not constant, and now it's not even available at all. When you were chairman of the NERC, what was different?
Well, I think we always have crises, but not labor. Don't forget at that period, they were paid handsomely for privatization, so they didn't have to shut down the system for any reason. That time, the federal government was magnanimous and paid them off even while they were still at service. But now, issues around promotion, issues around has come up. Then they were so happy. We didn't see any electricity workers shut down the system. We had issues where they gave notice of protest, but fortunately, those notices did not crystallize into switching off the grid in the sense they've done now. There always been, Nigeria has very notorious labor relations. So it's not that whether it's in the health sector, in the education sector, it's too many strike actions. Students are still out of school for the past 6 months. So yes, but the point is that when it comes to electricity, the impact becomes immediate. And that's why government responds quickly. I mean, you shut down the whole country in darkness, it's unbearable. But you can shut down schools, unfortunately, for 6 months, and nobody will bother, even though the cost of that is much more massive than the cost of this action. But this action is dramatic, it's clear, the optics is clear, everybody sees it, everybody's in darkness. That's why it looks terrible. But in our time, we had crisis, but we never had them go and switch off the light. Maybe because they were basking from their compensation then after the privatization.
Well, Mr. Amadi, I was actually imagining what the view from your end would look like with the blackout. But of course, you have, like other Nigerians, resorted to self-help at this time, trying to provide electricity.
That's why I'm outside, because I couldn't have fuel. The place is filled up.
So there's just a whole lot. There's a whole lot on the table that needs to be handled. Former chairman of the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, Sam Amadi, thank you for joining us on TVC News at 7.